New business, 2014 budget. Board answered questions regarding the proposed budget. A few questions answered included the insurance premium, including the slide, bad debt, management fee, increase to $475 per home as approved in 2009 for the 2010 budget, as the on-site manager was eliminated. Office supplies, security, and clubhouse staff were also discussed. After the discussions, it's unfair motion to approve budget as presented. Motion was seconded by Mr. Malone. All in favor, motion carried. Without further questions from the homeowners and additional comments from the board, the board's directed meeting was adjourned at 9:06 p.m.
Anyone have any changes?
Make a motion.
To approve the minutes?
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Jen, can I have a question about the pool fund? I didn't ever get anything on
I know.
that.
I have it right here for you guys. I was actually going to print for you. I have my printers on Fritz. So I will pass that around. You guys can look further if you want.
Yeah.
But I actually came up with it. So when we get the slide, we'll go over it.
The October financial was emailed to the board. We did not have the November as of the this month was 15th. At the end of October, we finished with $421,223.88 in delinquencies. 9 homes changed ownership in the month of October. And of these things, 58 properties are in mortgage foreclosure, and 25 are declared bankruptcy. 9 have been discharged, and we are moving forward with collections. We collected a total of $18,504.02 in delinquent assessments in the month of October. 57 accounts are currently at the attorney for liens and new foreclosures. The association at the end of October held 6 titles to homes on the property. No 2 properties at that time were rented. Inspections are being done. I have reduced into sections with Tricia, and letters have been going out. And I know the clubhouse inspection has been conducted. The area office is working on the irrigation report that we're still waiting for. That's all I have.
Next is suspending rates for collections. This list looks about the same size as last month. I'm sure we'll do your new, but
There's probably nothing else.
yeah, there's usually that many new ones. Like 4 or 5. Okay, so I need a motion to approve suspending the rates that are on the sheet for this month.
Motion.
Okay. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Reports task force by chairperson. Don, who's this? What we got?
Okay, bear with me. This may be a few minutes here. What I'd like to do is say, you know, our pool resurfacing has started on November 4th, and we're still targeting December 20th to be done. This has taken a while. The pool is in kind of bad shape. And I'm really trying to pay real close attention to what they're doing out there. I called them back twice for issues that they have. I've been down there actually working with them to find out these little problems that we're in. So bear with us on that. The second thing is I've got a fella coming over Saturday at 8 o'clock in the morning to get Frisco, and he's developed ways to clean the ladders that we have, 4 ladders. We got 1 rail in here. He can clean those and make them feel almost like new. The cost, I'll have to negotiate with him, but it should be over $500. Are we interested in doing something like that? Having those ladders cleaned?
I haven't seen a bad bit of it.
They're not that bad, but they have some pitting on them, they have some rust, they have some surface areas, and they've got a lot of calcium buildup on the bottom.
Well, Jeff, do we have funds in the,
Okay. How much is that for again?
It may be $500. I'll negotiate.
Yeah, we can negotiate with my state fine, but, you know, because right now, year-to-date, we're ahead of budget, you know, by $7,000, so we're not doing bad. You know, we got 2 months to go. I think we're in pretty good shape. I think we should just do it.
well, there's just, before we say that, there's a couple things I want to make sure you're aware of. Before, that we're saying we're 7,000 ahead, I received a letter from ProScape, and I believe Linda was on this as well, saying that we owe them X amount of dollars for mulch, for annuals, and for, what was the third thing, Linda? Mulch annuals and
Mulch, annuals, and
Fertilization.
fertilization. So it was like a prorate, and it was about $9,000 in total.
no, it's pruning the palm trees.
Pruning the palm trees.
Fertilization. Yeah.
So the only one that's 100% legitimate is the pruning boundaries. The annuals, we only received half of what we were supposed to, so that's probably to be negotiated with the number that they had there, which was like, I think, 2,800, $3,000, somewhere in there, which I thought was insane for that many annuals, but we'll figure that out. And then the mulch, I guess they prorated it because they did it in the beginning of their contract. And since we're not keeping them, they're saying we owe them for the balance of what they would amortize over the period of time that they were due. Now, I want to see it right. That's what I was requesting. So, once we see that, we'll decide whether or not we owe it or not. We definitely owe the boundaries, though.
I can give you the mail call too from Prescott.
That was,
Because they didn't finish doing the mulch. They didn't mulch the park, they only halfway did it along the clubhouse here, and they didn't put behind the shrubs next to the walls on the main boulevard. So, I'm gonna point that out.
and the second thing, which I was going to wait till the very end to bring up, but I need to bring up now, if we're thinking about finances. I was going to have a chat with Vanessa today by email, and asked if the Comcast letter had gone out to notify people, because we were talking about that. It hadn't gone out yet because she was talking back and forth with Comcast, and now Comcast is saying that it doesn't turn off until February. So after all these things we have in writing about December, now they're saying February. So,
Yeah.
that's new as of today.
As of today.
I say we stop paying them at the
That's
end of this
what I'm-
year, just like we're supposed to, and that's it.
Right. And
They're not gonna push it out
If there's any
anymore.
issue, we'll get letting you know.
Yeah.
Did they send a letter stating that?
No, this was just over conversation. She called me, trying to know about the roads, and we're talking, and I'm like, I'm trying to get this letter out, and just like, what information I need to put on the letter, so that they know what the process is, if they want to keep your services. And she was like, well, I don't think that I should log it since you guys have to February. I was like, we don't have to February. No, we have to pull up all the records, we sent you guys letters, and never, you send me know.
I think we need to get that letter out no matter what, whether or not they give you information or not, because we're in December, and at the end of the month is when we're saying cutoff is, so it needs to go out like this week sometime.
Yeah.
So just send a regular letter saying that, no,
You know, if they'd like to keep their service, then give Comcast contact Comcast. That way, at least we've done our due diligence and got it up to that. And I don't need to jump around, but because of that money being an issue, and if we're having to pay for additional 2 months, it's a problem.
Right, well, I think we can contest that.
Yeah,
We can't, there's no way.
We gotta, well, I don't know, I just wanted you guys all to be here at this first before. So I thought about this a couple hours ago.
Instead of doing a mailing, could we put something up on the billboards?
Yeah, I think
Comcast,
they should
come
keep
to
it
the
up for
clubhouse.
like a week, or, now
They
that.
come get a paper, instead of saving the money on the mailings, is come here and put something on the thing, come to the clubhouse and find out what your options are, instead of spending
Well,
money.
and you could have Jeff do the Matt's email too, because he has the big list of everybody.
Yeah, I still think we're gonna need to do a snail mail.
Legally, we probably do.
I think we do only because I'm getting emails all week saying, what are our dues? Is Comcast, nobody realizes what our new dues are, even though the coupons did arrive today. I'm still getting emails saying, what are the dues, and is Comcast still ending? So I don't know how many people look at the board, I don't know how many people read the website, so we probably should still put it up on the board, but I still think we need that snail mail to go out.
Well, we can do it, the HOA website, email, we can do the board. Go ahead and write it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still
Just a
out.
few minutes ago, they got something from the girl's house, this guy is in a contract, I'm thinking, oh my God. I think a lot of people don't think into anything, and I'm afraid people sit in shock at the end of the month, and a lot of people don't.
It'll take a couple days to get something there.
I think what we do is tomorrow I'll talk with Marina and have her start posting it, and just leave it out for the remainder of the month.
Yeah.
It's not gonna hurt anything.
Vanessa, I asked you to get a final billing for December. Did you submit for that so that the billing department knows we're giving us something? Final billing for December.
last context.
Yeah. That alerts their billing department that, we're serious about this. No matter who, I don't know who you talk to, I'm not sure you documented that. When is the billing, like, the 10th, the first, of the end of the month, or how do you bill
It's
it?
just the first of the.
It is first end? Okay, that's good. Yeah, just let them know that you made final billing, send it to the billing department, call whoever you need to call.
Your billing department knows, and that's all right.
Yeah,
Doing work check
Nancy
as well.
knows, she's the person that will, so she knows.
And I'm just trying to reference the whole thing, but I want to make sure we were all on the same page with finances first.
Oh, I Richard had.
Richard, yes.
I told him, I talked to them, they said that the equipment is not turned back. They're automatically going to bill the people $64. So the people that don't know it's ending get that bill and be fine with that. So I just wanted you guys to be aware, I talked to Comcast yesterday, and they said basically they're going to assume someone does not return their equipment, that they're going to stay with Comcast and just bill them $64.
Well, anybody that's switching is gonna return their equipment, that don't make sense.
Right, but I'm saying there's probably people here that have no idea Comcast is going away.
Right.
Or that they're going to bill. That, I mean, yeah, we all
Well,
know.
we probably should have known in this town.
Just to let them know if they don't return equipment, they're going to be billed directly by.
I'll put it on the website too.
It's going to be like,
That's
I
good
hate,
information.
I hate to spend money too, I'm worried about people that don't have a clue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can include this all in that one, right? But that makes a lot of
yeah, just
sense.
let them know it's going to go, she said that's what the rate is. If there's a deal that they can do, but if they don't follow anything, we just automatically bill them.
Thank you for the information. We'll get it out.
Okay. Also, Dave Frisco, and we're gonna look at that. Am I authorized to go ahead and spend $500 when I sign a contract with you? I send it up to the desk? Okay, you're good.
You can negotiate something.
Negotiate.
Yeah, we'll do that. The reason is that he does paper sealing also, so he's gonna give me a demo on that. I've seen his work at Coronado Springs at Disney, and it's unbelievable. I've even got a picture of my phone. He also does wall cleaning. He has a special chemical that he's developed, cleans walls, and they smear it on, and it's thick enough that it oozes down, and it cleans all that crap right off of there. So there's no, I think they do a little washing after that, and I don't think you need to spray wash.
You're talking about the perimeter wall?
Yeah.
Get a quote of that?
I'll get a quote on that, yeah.
Do they seal them too?
Yes.
Or is it just plain?
No, he can seal. But he'll use that special oil sealer that doesn't damage the brick.
Okay, can you also ask if they clean curbs, because our curbs all along there, they're black. Sidewalks, I mean, whatever they clean, because it has to be done, it was nasty out there.
All right, great. Okay, thank you, guys. Next. This is the tank fix. I negotiated with them even today, just before this meeting, trying to get a better price to get this thing fixed. The tank, you probably don't realize what this is, but the tank for the pool is in the back, it's in the equipment area. It's quite large, it's 8 by 4 by 6 or 7 foot deep, holds 8 by filters. It's cracked in the bottom. The reason why it cracked is due to either bad installation or just settling, normal ground settling. It will leak water into the ground, and that's one of the problems that we have. It will leak, well, there's a big 18-inch crack in it, and there's another 12-inch crack in it. I have a crew come in hopefully tomorrow, once we get this approved, if we approve this, fix it, and they'll come in and take care of it. What I negotiated was new hinges on it, and new lift arms, and whatever else I can get out of these guys to do this thing, because they're the ones that are doing the pool. He's probably got somebody else that knows the fiberglass business and everything else. They have to fill it from the bottom, blow a couple holes, and fortify it from the bottom. And they're probably going to have to use some stainless steel to fortify the hinge. The hinge is breaking off, and if we lose that part of the tank, it's a fortune. The tank lid alone is $1,800 to replace that lid. So you really got to be careful with this stuff. And we do have a plan, hopefully in the next few months, to go in there and refurbish that area too. We're working with these guys to do that. So this is what this is, and I'd like to make a motion to go ahead. This is $2,500, and this will repair it, put in the new hinges and the pistons for the thing to get lifted up, and to fill in the voids that are underneath it, and what else I can spray bottom.
What's the note that it could go to 5,500? What's that?
That's just in case there's some damage that they can't see if they go underneath the tank, if they have to do some excavating, and God knows what else that they might run into. And that's the peak of what this would be. Now, I think Linda, you mentioned what a new tank would cost. It costs anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. So, if you don't mind, I can sign a copy that I have here. If we was to make a motion to go ahead and spend at least the 25.
Okay, before we go ahead with this, I mean, would it be possible, I know that Classic is doing all the other stuff around here, but we did put, you know, the pool resurfacing out for bid, you know, and we compared 4 or 5 different companies, you know, and I'm just curious as to whether or not there's other companies that can provide a proposal also, you know, for the same work.
The other ones that I called, the only one that I came up with that was local was fees, and I don't know what they The company that made those tanks out there, Compact is the name of it, CYPRESS. They would probably come out here and fix it. They got a 2-week lead time.
Okay.
I don't know what they would cost to fix it. The other company is Backpack, I think it is, and they were not interested in it. It was just too far away out in Jacksonville. He said if we were closer, they'd be down here. I can call Spees and get them in here. Oh, Spees. Okay. I can call them up and see what they would do.
You know, I think we need to do the due diligence rather than just grab one estimate, you know, I think, you know, I think, and if the other two are similar, then, you know, we can probably go with classes, but I think we need to do that and stuff, you know. We may be able to save a few dollars.
Now,
And just like James noticed, I mean, the fact that it could go an extra $3K, I mean, I don't know, it just seems like you ought to be able to give us an estimate of how bad it could be, so, like, you know.
well, it's
I don't
similar to
like
the,
total numbers.
yeah,
They should be able to analyze that.
it's similar to the pool. Once they got into it, they could see that they had sandblasted.
Yeah.
It's a similar thing to that. We still have ways to get for banking that. So it's a difficult thing. If you guys want another estimate, that's fine. I need to know what to do with that other estimate, how we're going to approve that. Do I just send that to James and have him?
Why don't we, well, let's make a motion this, that way it's official. Make a motion that if it's within, what, $300, $400 of this quote, we'll stay with Classic.
Okay.
If it's lower than that, then we'll go with the company that's lower, and I'll make, I can sign it then, at that point.
Sure. I'll come and get you. Are you guys coming next week?
How soon can we get the other estimates?
I'm hoping I get it tomorrow.
Oh, that quickly, okay.
Yeah,
And
I'll
Speeds,
call first thing tomorrow.
and Compact too? Yeah.
Compact, that'll be 2 weeks from now, at the earliest, and that we can't wait that.
Okay, so we're going to a motion if
I can call and I'll
If it's
find
within
another one if I can.
$400, we're going to continue with Classic because they're doing all the rest of the work. If it's lower than that, then we'll sign up on one of the other companies. So I'm just not going to sign it today. We'll wait until we have this bits. Need a second, please.
I'll say.
Go ahead.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Okay. Now, I know that we have this thing on the website, and it may not have been good. The ones I circled, this one I didn't circle, on the brown area, the top two. The top one for the planters, and the next one for the beam. And the beam, as I wrote, is that city line goes all around the pool, it's about 18 inches
That's
wide.
good. So you're probably the only one with color of our papers.
This dark brown, if you put green on top of that, like we're gonna have, it'll look really, really good. So you guys cool with that?
Yep.
Okay, I have not given them that yet, so they haven't bought it, obviously, they haven't done the media. Okay, cool. I got a bid from Acme Papers. Accurate. I'll pull this out. There's 4 things here. We don't have to do any of them, or we can do some of them. I'll go over this. There's 4 things that we wanted to do. One, the pool pavers removal, existing flower beds, and install pavers approximately 300 square feet. Those are just 2 areas in the center of the pool. Okay? What we would do is take the sprinklers and cap those. Take all the bushes out of there, all the rocks out of there, and put these pavers in. And that comes to $2,100.
Is that product and labor?
Yes.
Okay, the only issue I would have with doing this now is if we're going to move forward with the slide, those papers are going to come out again. So we can
No,
reuse.
these would not, well, those.
Yeah, that's what I mean, and that's a large area for it to come out, which means we could reuse them if we're buying product in the other areas.
We don't know what type of foot that slide has.
That's true, I mean, but I know it's gonna need a footer.
Yeah. But then we just take a couple out, or whatever, and just cover the bottom end.
Okay, because before there was no papers at all.
Do you want to wait till after the slide?
I just think it'd be throwing away papers that we just put in. We just paid $2,000 to have that done.
We can reuse those.
If we can.
Yeah.
Okay. I wish that we would have picked those up when we were done.
I just don't know what the cost was on that. I mean, I don't know how much that was labor, how much that was product, but I know that was 22, 2,500 to do that slider. So I don't want to just cost of the
Well,
product.
let's hold off on the cabana, and then the next thing was on the planters, on the corners. Our new landscapers already trimmed the trees, and they look great, so that's basically done. The only other thing we wanted to do was pull the stones out and possibly replace it with the jasmine type material, and then put cedars in there instead of the sprinklers.
So is is this from Valley Crest portion of this, or is this?
No, this is all from Active Pavers. And
They're gonna provide the actual, the plants?
Yeah. They would remove those and put in the plants for $800. They will trim the trees, which I don't think they have to do now, and install the dirt plants instead of the sprayers. Now, I think, wasn't Valley Crest going to take a look at this too?
Yeah, they were gonna give a proposal on it, but, it's gonna be higher than that.
Well, what about, what's his name? Larry Evans, doesn't he do irrigation?
He does irrigation.
For that,
Yeah.
and he pulls that as well?
Does he do landscape?
No, I'm talking about the drip line
He
portion.
only does it.
That's very minimal, what we do ourselves, that's minimal.
Yeah.
Why should we pay anybody when me and Don can go do it in probably an hour or two? That's not a lot of work.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you
That's
almost
right,
have to
we
do
don't
it,
have to, I mean,
you know,
them two
because
can do
you're going
it.
to have to take some of that dirt out of there, and whatever you got left is where that dirt line would go, and then plant it.
Is that being irrigated right now?
Yeah,
Well, they are.
they're sprinklers.
You know what, I
And
talked
lettuce.
to John Crest about the palms out there because the root ball is out of the dirt. And they agreed that they might be too big for those planters. Because, I mean, the root ball is actually, as it's growing, it's coming up out. And they have filled that planter, so we may still have to remove
What did they
those
say
trees.
about the condition of those? Because I remember getting from Pro Street, we were saying that they needed to be trashed, those ponds.
Yeah,
Because they were
they said,
ponds.
well, they haven't
Can
been
we say-
fertilized, they might be able to do something, but if they're too big for the planters anyway,
No, I'm just saying, let's not get rid of it.
Yeah.
Someplace else, if they're
we
safe
could, we
salvage.
could put them somewhere else. But we are probably gonna have to take them out there because like I said, the root ball's not, there's that much of it above, I mean, it's coming up out of the
And
ground.
we don't know how much is actually going down, it could be interfering with the pool, so if it's
No.
not that big.
Yeah, I suggested you cut around that to give it some room to grow, you know. I'd like to get their opinion on that, so.
Yeah, they have
So you want to just hold off on this
Yeah.
until we get some more quotes?
Yeah.
From Valley Crest, and do you want to bother with Larry Evans on the rest of it, or just, it's just a small
No.
piece of it?
No,
Okay.
probably not, because he, to do that, it would probably cost,
Well,
it
what-
cost us more than the.
What is this last piece for $2,000?
The last piece is there's a drain that runs down the whole side. Pavers,
Plastic.
that plastic things, and the pavers are pushing in, and that plastic's up coming up the bottom. So that's something that we don't need to address that right now.
You know what, I think we should hold off. The thing is, like, number one, you know, we can't really pay for this year in 2013, that's because it wasn't budgeted.
Yeah.
We may be able to pay for it, you know, we'll actually take it 2 steps backwards. The full slide, we had $75,000 in the reserve for a full slide for 2013. We're not going to get that done by the end of this year, okay? But we're going to push that into January, so hopefully we're going to be able to save a few dollars there.
There's a significant savings, and I'll show you, we won't get to it.
Right, and so based on those savings, maybe we could pay for this paver stuff. I'd still like to get some maybe additional proposals, because when we, you know, had those pavers put into that old slide area, we had like 3 different proposals again. And I think that's just something that we have to do consistently, you know? So,
What's the company we have to do the papers thing? We didn't use, it wasn't the same.
It's-
Was it?
yeah, and we're pretty satisfied with his work, but just to kind of keep him honest, we ought to get 2 other proposals, make sure he's in the ballpark, you know? So, and we know his quality, and again, if he's within a few $100 of his competition, we'll let him do the work, you know? So,
Don, did you find out anything about, like out here where we have all these sporadic plants, about that coming out? and-
Yeah, that's on here too.
Okay,
That's on, that was the second, that's $36.
which one is that one? 36.
We have papers removal of existing flower bed and rock and stuff.
Yeah, that's
We
right.
don't want rock
That's on
there.
the edge of the dam. You're gonna remove the rocks and install the rocks.
No, I'm talking about inside the fence out here.
Just right.
Yeah, I think he's saying the same thing. It was remove the rock on here and install 600 feet of pavers.
Yeah, that's all underneath this fence. That's under there. Okay, so we're just gonna hold on that until after we get the slide, and that's cool, then we can see if we can reuse some of the figures. Dan Braswell, the Wi-Fi, have you worked with?
I told him where I wanted it, I don't believe he's done it yet, I don't see it.
Okay. I worked with Dan a little bit some money, because it seems like we're losing a little.
I told him that I would come out whenever he wanted to give me a call, but I know he is sporadic when he can be here because of his day job, and that he's there for several, some 24 hours, 36 hours at a time.
What is our arrangement for him buying parts? Does he buy the parts and install them?
I think he does, because when he quoted me on what's going to be done here, it was including the box and the wire and everything,
So
so.
he can go ahead and buy this stuff and just bill us later.
Okay, it's all included in time and material.
Okay.
Okay, talk about Dan, I hate to get off the subject, but did he correct all the electrical issues that, before we started, guys weren't encountering?
No?
No.
But still on 20%,
Do you know if he did anything?
we haven't seen.
This might be a Tricia question. Since she's been kind of involved with her and.
Yeah, that's why.
I spoke to him, he said he was in out here, so.
Hasn't provided an estimate.
I haven't got a proposal or
Can you
anything.
possibly follow up with them on that, just find out what the deal is, because I know there were a couple of lights, I think, in the hallways that needed new baffles or something, and, I think one of the fountains, he was able to determine that there was a bad contact and repair for, a minimal amount. And then the other, I don't know, does anyone know, of any resident that's got a small boat that, an electrician can kind of go out on one of the ponds and actually
Right here.
A canoe.
He's
I got a canoe.
Do you have a canoe? Yeah. Would you be willing to loan it to this electrician so he can take a look?
Sure.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry, what's your name again, sir?
Jose Gutierrez.
Jose, okay. All right, well, do you know Dan Bracewell? No? Okay. We could probably look you up his name and stuff, so. Jeff CYPRESS has your information, I imagine, right?
I have a place to.
Oh, you did too? Okay, if I send you Dan's contact information, you can hook him up?
I'll send it.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that, yeah. Great.
Also, did you ask Dan about the fire alarm to the bathroom? You know I'm on this.
No, I didn't ask him about that. I'm still waiting for another quote. We had that one quote that came back at $860, which I thought was insane. Now we're gonna have the guy that does it for all our schools come in.
Okay, what did you have that set up
I
though?
haven't set up yet.
Can we get that set up?
Yeah.
I mean, I know everybody's busy, but
It's just with the holiday events, the
Yeah.
school for them to do all the repair work while things are closed. So I was gonna have them come in my first of the year. If you want it sooner than that, we probably should go for somebody else. there's, I got 7 schools. that-
I mean, it's been like that forever, but we really need to get it.
I know for a fact though, that is way too high.
Yeah.
That I can tell you, it should be probably around 200 to 300, not 860.
Right. I'm all for you saving the money,
Yeah.
but I just would like to get it addressed because it's been like this for a long time. And if we're gonna have it in there,
We don't have to go with,
Right,
the
you can
guys
get
I know. We can go with,
Yeah.
anybody. I just know that quote that we got back from, it was a signature, was
Yeah.
insane. All they were doing was, they were making a profit on third party. They were being the middleman. So I know we're paying them more than we should have because they even said in their quote, we will not be doing the work, we are outsourcing.
yeah. Is there anybody else that does it directly that would do
You
it?
could probably call the fire department, I know they recommend. Okay, probably ask Dan Rose.
That's what I mean, if we get him to do it, I would like to contact him so we can get that taken care of, because it's been there a long time. If you're on the fire alarm, it needs to work.
Oh, he's gonna do other work with me,
Yeah.
he might be certified doing this since he was the fire department.
Okay.
I'll ask him.
Can you get that on the list, ask him to?
You got it.
Mention the fire.
Yes.
It's the
You
pulse,
might
it's the
fall in
pulse
there and
station.
need to pull a fire alarm, you would be able to.
Can I ask Trish the rest of these questions around that?
That's some of it.
What's the protocol for getting maintenance things done and fixed around here? In other words, we don't seem to have a centralized person who does most of the maintenance, anything.
Well, it depends on what maintenance is. Some of us from Leland,
Okay.
like some of the broken lock or it's that, what's it, signature, right? They do a little bit. Or if it's something that the clubhouse staff can handle, then it's, Tricia coordinates it with Mary Ann.
Okay, so Tricia would call, in other words, the clubhouse calls Tricia, Tricia calls Leland. Okay. I was wondering about that because we got a lot of fire ants outside, even some of the Valley Press workers.
Yeah.
We got into them.
That's good you brought that up, because I want to get that top choice treatment, because they will treat the same price that ProState quoted us at $6,300, that will cover 17 acres. So we probably need to approve this,
Yeah.
because they're getting really bad
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know they're bad.
If there's an issue out there that needs to be addressed, and apparently they haven't been addressed, so I don't know what the protocol is.
Well, here's the issue with the fire ants, I don't know if that was in the budget or and that's a chunk of change, $6,000.
Well, I mean, just to do the clubhouse area.
Oh, the commissary, then.
Well, see, they
we
can
probably
spot,
did that.
they can spot treat,
Yeah.
but we need to get that coverage so that they move away from everybody. Because there's people stepping in those. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
people, if somebody goes into anaphylactic shock.
Are those
Because of
things,
the fire ants.
are those things in the villages, the big ant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they fire
They're
ants?
bad.
They're overrun.
Where's that?
The villages, as you come out of Ashire, on common area, they're just popping up.
Yeah,
And the problem is though, the guys are coming in and mowing, and they're just mowing and spreading.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we, and kids are walking by there all the time.
Maybe not by the back lakes, but up in the,
So
Maybe
we
worse
don't
something
have
that we
to
have
have
to do
this
that.
this year to go ahead and get that done.
I can't remember if that's included in the budget or not. You may have picked that.
Because, my thing was that the landscaping was higher and, the estimate from what you were paying, and we brought Proscape in, which was lower. So we should have enough that we could go ahead and get
Well,
that
the estimate,
treatment.
you're saying the estimate for 2013.
Yeah, well, yeah,
We had problems with all that offset with the rental
Yeah.
and stuff, so it's not really.
and I know,
Carry over.
I know that, but I'm just saying, is there enough left that we could go ahead and get this before, somebody gets really.
We'll have to look into that stuff. I don't recall having baked that into the budget, so, I mean,
Well, no, because nobody had ever gave that estimate before.
Right,
For
right.
fire ant treatment coverage, because it's guaranteed for a year.
Again, I think that maybe we should revisit it. Well, let's listen to what James has to share about.
Okay, you want to skip real quick access to those?
All right, but I really want to get that.
Well, we're talking about pools, so this is going to be part of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's finish the resurfacing.
Let me
and then
finish
we'll go
this
back.
after. The resurfacing's done, I got all the questions answered there. Are you guys interested at all in redoing the kiddie pool at this time?
What's the cost?
It should be around 8,000.
What's wrong with it?
You can tell it needs.
It's coming.
The whole-
surface
What
is
happened
coming
is
off, it was
when we
bad.
shut it down, then we discovered it was just as bad as the pool. There were some weak spots in it. I'm afraid if we turn it on, put water in it, the kids are gonna walk over it and that shell's gonna crack. I think I went out there with
Well, this
Yeah,
this might all be able to be done with, this will help, this will help. So let's just quickly go over it and we'll see what's left in the.
That's 8,000,
about 8,000, yeah.
So for the pools, or the pool slide, and we talked about the two balloon slide, and just so everyone can see this, and I'll pass this around. That's an actual photo of what the slide looks like from the company. The company has, all three companies sell this exact same slide. This is pretty much the only commercial pool slides that I could find that are all the same. I received quotes from 3 different companies now. The first one is Detailed Plate Pro, who is the first company I've been dealing with. The cost for that slide is $33,500 plus 15% for freight, which is $5,025, plus 23% for installation, which is $7,705. And I also put the insurance difference, which is $9,000 in there. So the total cost of the slide for the year would be, if we went with them, $55,230. They are the highest. For the exact same slide, going with WillyGo, which is willygoat.com, they're another playground company, $52,470. And for the final company, which is Bluegrass Playgrounds, right now they're actually just dropped the price another $2,000 because they're going to be sale, $47,626.20. And that's total with cost, freight, installation, and insurance all baked in.
Do they all carry the same type of warranty?
Some of those particulars I don't have back yet. The warranties are going to be the same because it's the manufacturing warranty that we're getting off it. As far as the labor and installation warranty, what I'm doing now, this is why I've been going back and forth, is trying to get phone calls answered for the people that have actually purchased these to tell me, yes, this company installed it well, or this company was not, didn't do. So, because the price not maybe the only factor, we are significant between the two. Between the 55 and the 47, that's some big money. So if Bluegrass has a great reputation, I've got to go with the 47.
Yeah, I would too, because of the total amount that we could do all three of these.
This is taking a long time because I'm not getting return calls. a lot of the places that put these in were either like parks or HOAs, and they're just not calling me back. And they're not Florida people.
That's bluegrass?
They're West Coast, yeah. So I'm just waiting to get some references back. But at least I was able to finalize the third person, and Bluegrass was actually the third one that I found. I remember I told you I was only having two, I was only find two for months and months. Well, and this just came up beginning of the week. But these guys called me back and said, oh, we're still on the exact same product. So I'll let you guys take a look at that.
Did they mention how large the flume is?
They did not. They seem to be all pretty standard. I mean, every company that I looked at sold this exact same slide, and they sold a bunch of different models. They're all by over that manufacturers.
I'm just wondering compared to what we have.
Well, we can get our hands on specs though, right?
Yeah.
The diameter of the phone and stuff, yeah.
It says 1/2 something pH, 39-foot long there, and 1/8 foot diameter. Oh, this is diameter, 8 foot. 8 foot here, and this is.
Well, I see the diameter inside of the tube.
Yeah, it says an 8 foot diameter outside the tube, so I'm not sure how thick the tube is.
So I think that your 8 foot is from here to here. You know, the little thing is an 8 foot spiral. So from this point to this point over here.
Yeah, that can't be right. The only reason I think it can't be right is because it's a 22 foot height. How can that one be 8 foot out of the ground?
Hole though.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Compared to what we used to have.
I'm guessing that's not much more than 3 feet.
I see this one I'm talking about underneath here, you see that's all paved under there. So wherever these things anchor in, we can put the papers back in. How do kids get up to this line stuff?
Down to the side, I don't see it in there, but if you go up the opposite side.
Maybe we can get a blown out view of this thing.
That was the best picture they could give me. I asked for more photos, and that was the only one I could get.
I think it's a situation where we actually have to climb from level to level, you know?
Is there cages on there that they can't fall out?
Well, it's my, well, I think, in an earlier picture that I saw was like, it's like kind of
The
enclosed.
other picture is this. That's the other one, so you can kind of, yeah, maybe a little bigger there.
Those are like screens or something, I don't know if the kids bust through those.
They're not, I don't think they're screened.
I don't.
If you look at the main picture, there's no screen.
Probably just bars around there for safety.
And I hate to, I mean, I don't want to burst anybody's bubble here or talk negative, but it's the only company that's selling these. It's pretty much this or no slide that I can find. And I've been everywhere. in the-
Natural structures, or they have business?
I don't know natural structures.
They're the ones that we have, it's like, just,
I
there are
no
no
idea.
ideas.
I didn't see.
No, they're not in the business, but they're very, very expensive. When I spoke to them about replacing our slide,
Well, we've got the specs for that.
yeah, I have everything, but I was also in touch with them. There were $60,000, not including the flume,
Yeah.
for the same slide that we had because
So for the same metal that rusted out.
No, no, no.
Oh,
Same
they
slide.
Yeah.
But they changed it, they don't make it out of the same steel anymore, they make it out of aluminum. So same thing that this company is doing.
If you guys have any questions, you're more than, I can give you all the phone numbers.
But it was more
If you
expensive.
have questions, if you guys want to call.
Maybe it's on the website and stuff.
Yeah, I can send all those.
Can you, yeah.
And now that I have the
send all
three
that.
different ones, you'll have a little more kind of feel for what's out there. But these are all pretty big playground companies, so.
Well, the good thing is that, you know, we got 75K in reserves for the slide. The highest one is 55, so we got an extra 20 to do some of these other things that we didn't really budget for, so. I think we just all have to get a little more comfortable with that. If you can send us just
Yeah, I'll
a
send you all
link
the links,
to the site.
and the photos. You got it.
If in the meantime, we can maybe get some referrals, if anyone does.
That's my only problem.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I held off on sending the information. I was hoping to have it for today, but, you know, I didn't want to do it without referrals, but I'm sure everybody was going to ask, you know, what's the reputation like? Especially since they're not a local Florida company. Okay, God, we continue with pool?
That's it for the pool. I can pass out this deal for the kiddie pool.
Yeah.
How much is it? Repair?
Well, I had to add this all up, but this is to get us rocking and rolling. The only difference in making this thing a little more expensive is we're going with Pebble Tech for under the rim, which is $3,400. And as James found out with Pebble Tech, how long did Pebble Tech last, James?
Forever.
There you go.
Wait, this price is, okay. We need to check this, and here's why. you know, I'm building a pool right now, right? One of the, Chandra Jones, she's lives in development, her father does pebble deck.
Okay.
For my entire pool to be done was just a little bit more than this. And the pool is 60 by 30 with a spot. So that is a lot less area.
That rim around there, what they've got to do is they've got to demo that rim out.
Okay. Well, that's including the demo, because it says, this is just pebble deck, so.
Yeah, well, that includes the demo too. That's-
Okay, then it might not be as
Right. Everything else.
I was expecting it to be much lower if it was
Yeah, I know, I thought it was.
just that small area.
But, you know, like I say.
But if it's a demo, then I can see it. Okay. Because I'm sure there's sandblasting that too after the demo.
Yes.
I'm sure all of that is in what's included. Okay, that's not too bad. If it's just a pebble deck, I thought it was a little bit pricey. Okay.
So that's it. Now, that doesn't include painting either. And I suggested a yellow stem with a red polka dot top. Trish didn't like that, she wanted to go with blue. They're all gonna fade eventually. I'm gonna try to talk them to three coats on it. There's no clear coat or anything on that they can put on it. They might be able to put a gel coat on first, which will help preserve the fiberglass, and then put 2 or 3 coats on after that. So the yellow would probably stay pretty yellow for a while before it started to mute out a banana color. The red would probably go to pink. But, you know, at that time, I don't know how many years it would last, but, you know, pink with white polka dots.
My whole view on that is it's for the kids, so I don't have an issue with if you want to paint it whatever color, as long as it's something the kids like. I mean, if you want to paint the regular pool polka dots, I have a problem with it. But for the, you know.
The other thing says no bid on time and motor. There's a lot of them, they have what's called an air switch, and the kids step on a switch, and it actually fires it off in about 15 minutes. And with a 2-speed pump, what it would do is kind of rain down when it wasn't actually working. And then the kids could play in the rain. If they hit the pedal, then it goes into full speed like you know they have it now. But we haven't looked into that motor, the timer, and then the air switch.
What's it running now?
It just,
One horsepower?
it's on. Oh,
Yeah, but what is it?
it's like a 6 horsepower unit or something.
So it's not in a variable speed?
No,
Okay, so.
single speed.
Yeah, that's what I said, electricity would be tremendous on a single speed, it's running at full bore.
You know, and that's all it does. So if we had 2-speed in there, it would slow it down, and save tons of money on the electric. They're attempting
How
to
much
do
was the
something.
foot pedal?
Yeah, that'll be
We don't know yet.
hundreds.
Oh, okay.
Not thousands.
Can you provide an estimate on that?
That's what they're working on, yeah. But it's hard, then it gets into the splash pad area when you start to use pedals. And I'm going to call them Weller Tools. Weller Tools has been really good at trying to get information. Everyone wants to build a pool.
So this is around 3, 4, 5, 6.
6,500.
Yeah, 6,500 goes back into gear. I'm just, like I say, afraid for you.
And that's without paint.
That's without paint, yeah. And they'll paint it in place.
I would say probably another 1,500 on that.
Yeah, they'll paint it in place. And they can do little designs on it and all sorts of stuff. That's all I have for the pool research. Any questions for you guys? Anybody else?
If we could just get an estimate for the paint and also
Yeah.
that variable motor stuff, whether it's foot activated or pedal activated, that'd be great.
Okay.
Because that thing runs full blast all the time, and that's a huge waste. And I think it's on a timer, and lots of times that's running after dark. You know, that's a sad thing too, so, you know.
It will literally be hundreds if not thousands savings in electricity, switching that pump.
Or are you gonna say probably 90% of the whole fan?
Okay, moving on to website, do we have anything new?
Nothing new on the website. Like I just mentioned to Vanessa, we'd like to get the minute meetings to say approved, and then we'll start hanging those out there.
I saw one thing, and I don't know if this is new or it's just, I just noticed that when I receive a request now, for activation on the website, and I get them daily, so a lot of people keep asking for activation, different residents. I now see whether they're a renter or not. Is that something Jeff added?
It could be, yeah, but I think it's good enough.
It says a little reminder to them that says, if you are a renter, please be sure that there's a lease on file in order to get access. So it's a little, I like it, it's a little extra reminder. I think he threw that in this month. I don't remember seeing it before. Okay, so,
James,
yes.
a quick question on that. Is it possible to ask them to, especially the renters, if they haven't gotten or know of the rules and regulations, to come to the clubhouse?
Well, Mary Ann, well, we can put it on the website. Mary Ann, when she sees them, and they bring in a lease, she goes over that with them. The problem is, we don't not everybody has leases, people are renting without us knowing about it.
Well, that's, okay.
So we don't give them, the thing is, they don't really have access to the website unless they have a lease. So if they request access, putting it on there is only gonna keep the honest people honest. It's not gonna keep the people that don't have leases. So we can post it in the bulletin board, we can post it some other places, but I don't know if the website would be the best, because if you don't log in, you don't see it.
Yeah, if you don't get
Plus,
there.
we're good if they come in here and get a card, and use the pool facilities.
Is that what the constant? Because we have our, we have a card, we have our job.
It's with, what's her name?
And
But
that's
if
what
they don't have a
we've
lease,
been
well,
doing.
she'll know.
The girl with the-
If they don't have a lease.
Stacy Peach.
Talking
Your
about
name.
average job.
She was the one who told us about that.
We're a case in point on how you didn't get the information unless you looked on the website. So I'm just concerned about these people out there.
You know, the other thing we might be able to do is just have a single master document sent to Clubhouse. If you want to look through documents, a hard copy.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so anybody can see them, because even realtors don't
And then they are also.
Things that happen, and people thought it was well and good to put a huge propane tank right beside someone else's house. I mean, and they thought that was all well and good. You know,
That's,
didn't think so.
a lot of that falls on, you know, the people that install it, which should be doing all the proper permitting and everything.
Right, but, you know,
understand.
if you're the homeowner, and you know what the rules are, you should say that, hey, this has to be 10 feet under or whatever, but, so, I don't know. Just a thought.
Okay. Don, CCR? Any moves?
On the late notice, this went to the attorney, and
He
with
only had
these,
some changes. He doesn't recommend, or they don't recommend the board with it. He thinks that putting all those fees, all the attorneys that that's all, they're not full. They just feel like they should, they're all behind, and I don't know, it's just a courtesy. He didn't agree with it, but he said the board is kind of sending it out with all the information on there. Brian said just change, just, they were just like the statutes, their statutes, they say just a T on there, and then just 10% kind of.
So he didn't like the actual numbers that were, the figures that were
Yeah.
posted? And he didn't, did he say why?
He just has a very, this negativity when you put it out that way.
What would be no more negative than knowing ahead of time what it is, or getting slammed with it when
I agree,
the
that's
actual
that's
fees?
necessary to lose.
Yeah.
So, he said the board is willing to pay it out, and that's fine.
so the attorney wants to hide all the fees, and it's advised them.
Well, here's the thing, are we the only thing that I would worry about is if those fees are off by any dollar amount, and then they get a different bill, or if they've changed, or exactly they've changed, or if they're, you know, way off, then would we have a problem? Because they are going to make a letter saying, you said it was going to be this much, and then the attorney bills us this much, and it's more, or, I mean,
Well,
Great,
this
less.
doesn't get the attorney. This is just quarterly. Yeah, there's your quarterly assessment, the $5 preparation fee, which gives you a total amount of this. This
Does
is
it
all.
give you a definite answer, or does it say around or about, or, you know,
See, this is
definite?
just a late notice. This is your first.
I don't see what the numbers he's complaining about here. Just
Yeah.
your assessment,
There's just a fee on there.
and a $5 fee.
See, a lot of people are confused with this.
Oh, no, there's some $75 down
Yes,
here.
down here is the $75 if you don't do anything, plus the 10% interest fee will be added to your outstanding balance. I did not see this 10% in our documents. That's what bothered me.
Per
I,
hour.
did per annum, but this is 10% from the get-go. In other words, if you owe $100, I'm gonna charge you 10%.
Well, he made me change that to per annum, so we're gonna change that.
Okay, so you're not gonna
I'll
charge me
send you.
10%.
Well, it'll be 10% per.
Per annum.
Right, and it'll be on the letter.
Okay, I'm glad. But there was a charge of 10% the first month on some of these things. And we're not gonna do that anymore.
Well, I'm not sure about this. He
Okay,
said
look
it
at the
was-
collection letter. Look at the collection letter. That's for the,
Okay, this,
that's collection letter.
okay, this is, here's the thing, do we have multiple ones of these? Here's the issue I have with this whole thing. This is all fine and dandy until you get to the point where you completely ignore this letter. Because once you get to the point where you completely ignore this letter, these fees jump astronomically into the thousands.
Well, if you get, see, there's a late notice, then there's an intent to lien notice. Which we
And once the intent to lien is done, there's something else.
Yeah, then you'll get to,
But,
yeah.
and the issue that and this is why I want to talk about collections in here, it goes along with this, is we need to deal with it. And we need to make some decisions around it because it's becoming a nightmare, a daily nightmare for me. trying to make decisions around collecting money from people,
Yeah.
sending people to foreclosure. And it's not something I like to do, and but at the same time, I don't want to see the HOA, all the money that's being contributed to these legal costs, just being unobtainable.
Yeah.
At what point does that $75 fee go on there? After the late first payment?
That's the intent of the notice, $75.
But isn't it much more than that? What happens after the intent to lien? Then there's that $350.
That's the lien.
Then the lien is
By law, you
$350.
have to send this letter saying that in 45 days, if you do not make your payment,
Mhm.
you're gonna have a lien placed on your property. So that's what it's called, an intent to lien.
That's a $75.
Yes.
Okay. Then you get,
Then you send it to the attorney. Once the 45 days pass and they did not make the payment to us, and even if it went to the 76th day, we send it to the attorney. Automatically, they're sending that letter out. We, at that point, we don't have any access to that account. We send it to the attorney and that's it.
and then it's all residents must go directly to the attorney at that point forward. Legal can't help them, I can't help them without calling the attorney. Nobody has their case. And that's where the fees start building. And, you know, we can either wait until we get the collection policy of this, or since we're dealing with late notice, we can go into this now, but there's a couple documents that I will show you that I collected, that Clayton just sent me over, that I have on the screen.
I don't have that, and I've got the intent to lien here, not the intent to lien, but the collection notice. But on the collection notice, it says that we're gonna charge 10% if you don't pay this, right off the top. Then we're gonna charge you another 10% per annum after that. And that's what the collection notice states. The collection policy.
And then the next step is, and I get these complaints all the time, I have two of them right now, I haven't signed off on them, because I really want to talk about this tonight, is this particular address, is the lien against such and such, has been recorded in claim. And now Clayton wants to file the motion. In order to file this motion and to move forward with it, he needs a $500 retainer, or the fee. So I get a tremendous amount of these. I have two of them right now, ready to be signed off on. And then after this, I'll get an additional bill for the next stage of the process, and then the next stage of the process. And that's why some of these numbers on your collection sheets are in the, 20,000 and up.
So they don't give you an hourly, they give you a flat.
It looks like they give us a flat rate per each piece of it. But I'm going to give you an example. I had a resident call me last week. He said to me, James, can you find out what I owe? He goes, because I think I only owe $350. I said, all right. So I called the attorney and found out he owes $2,980. $350 is assessments. The rest of that is all lawyer's fees. So,
Yeah. Maybe we need to look for an attorney, because there's attorneys out there that will front this out there where it's no cost to the HOA. Because then we can combine all these and get rid of these attorneys, because the fees just keep on, they'll never be able to pay that.
That will go to hourly
I
rate.
don't disagree, that fixes us, but it doesn't help the resident anyway.
Oh, it
Because
could.
How would it help?
I mean, if they start going by hourly rate and you want to do a flat rate, that letter that they're talking about, they're just literally copying and pasting a name in there. It takes about a minute, 2 minutes. They have to do by a 6-minute schedule according to the bar. So, yeah, so 6 minutes to do that. With a $300 hourly rate, how much is that? It's nothing.
I'm not saying it's reasonable by any means. All I'm saying is, I don't know how it's going to end up helping the resident.
That'll help the resident immediately. They won't have to pay $500. They have to spend the 6 minutes.
Well, and also, it's gonna help the HOA, because we're
It'll help the
not
HOA. It'll definitely
being
help
obligated to pay these attorney fees up front to go after these collections, because the attorney's gonna do
the
it.
So this whole thing is two-phased, and I want to bring this up because I was talking with Vanessa about this earlier. So it's $500 for Clayton to do this work. It's $195. It's $195 if Leland was to send out these intent liens.
No, what you said. The
All right.
intent to liens are already sent for $75.
Which piece?
The lien.
The lien itself. So it's $195 for them to do it, it's $500 for Clayton to do it. So that's the first portion of it.
And it's not us, there's an attorney that does it.
Right, you have your own attorney.
Well, I don't think it's very good. They go down to the courthouse and do this themselves. And it's a lot cheaper than, how much was it now?
$35.
You're just paying for filing costs.
But if we, have we ever contacted these people to say you're gonna get a $500 pop if you don't do something?
We're not a collection agency, we can't call it. That's against the fair collection of debt. We can't.
Oh, I'm not saying you per se, but I mean, I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
How much was that again?
I mean, we can't call it.
All we can do is send a letter saying we're going into this process, but as far as the fees go, I don't think that we can, I think you're absolutely right about that, the Collections Act, because I used to work with the,
Yeah, we can't.
Big collection
We could be
agency, yeah.
sued for even calling someone and saying, hey, you owe this money. Then they're gonna be free, you know, we're not gonna pay anything.
How much was that again, if you did it, 100, you said?
It's 195.
Yeah, what's
195.
But are you guys going to handle the entire collections process yourself then?
I'm sorry?
After that, you guys are gonna handle the,
No, we just do the case study, but then we will still keep the cash account at our office.
so then we wouldn't have to file to
Then we wouldn't
change
have to send it to
attorneys
the
halfway
attorney.
through a filing of the case at the very beginning. That just seems unprofessional.
We wouldn't have to send it to the attorney, and we would just keep that account at our office until we give it to the board and say, hey, we think that we should send it to the attorney.
and
Then at that point, because automatically right now what's happening because of the collection policy of the board adopted is, once we send them 45 days, automatically after the 45 days, they're going to the attorney. No ands, or.
Well, how much
which is,
money
we don't
is
get to
your?
review that, we don't get to
I know,
negotiate
once
with
they
the
go with
resident,
that,
it's
that's
gone.
it. How much are your fees on top of this?
No, it's something that we just keep the lien.
That's it.
Once the lien is placed, it's on there.
It's not like the attorney is accumulating
No,
fees.
there's no
Don't do
attorney
that.
involved yet.
What she's saying is, once the board's, okay, once the lien was through,
Mhm.
and it now comes to the board, and the board says, all right, do you want to go forward with this person, or are we negotiating with them? At that point, it gets handed off to the attorney. Right now, we don't do that step, because it's built into the collection policy to do this. If this isn't happening, it just keeps going forward. So once it gets to Clayton, I have no power over it either. I can call and ask him what it is, but I can't give it back to legally.
We're still paying those attorney fees in the meantime.
And when I see, this is what drives me crazy, because I see the bills that I'm signing off on at, low end 1,600, high end $4,000 every month, that
And it's every call, every time our collection has to call.
All you're
them,
assuring is the
times.
resident can't make these fees because when a call is beaten,
Yeah.
and then over the head.
And I'm sure it's many.
I know, but it's,
Every
well, no,
attorney
you got,
has
no,
their-
that's not true, because you got 195, your attorney for it, he's $500.
Well, that's because she does all of our liens, so she.
I
does
understand that, but he does a lot of them as well, so we got 195.
He's a collection attorney.
I
Okay,
understand.
these attorneys that work for HOAs, they're collection.
And that's-
I understand, if it's $500 compared to 195.
Yeah.
If you could deal with them and we decide when we want to go farther along,
That's
then that saves us money and gives the resident.
That is what I like about it. What I like about it is that it keeps it in our hands until we as a board and we as a community say, let's pull the trigger, these guys are going forward. Because some of these people that are making phone calls, I don't know how much of it is true and how much of it is BS, but some of these people are telling me, I didn't even know that I was in to the lawyers. And then I gotta tell him it's $3,000 instead of $350, and of course I feel bad about it, but those are the fees that everybody in this room has paid out. So I can't say I'm waiving them. The only thing we waive is interest and late fees. According to the policy, that's why whenever you guys get those emails,
Yeah.
and I'm always pretty firm on, we can't do it for one, we're not doing it for everybody. Because I get calls every single day and say, look, we know what we can waive these two things, we paid our costs, we paid our costs. And that's when all these people are having these foreclosure proceedings, getting that from them. And it's a real struggle for them to get out of it. Rebecca?
Would it help to have a group or two people that are knowledgeable in this to talk to individual residents that the owner?
I don't know what we can do, according to the
That's like
collection
mediation.
act, we
I
can't
would
really do that.
Can't do that.
Can we have meetings here so that people understand what the procedures are? Because I think that might be part of it. Well,
You can't have anyone explain procedures that's giving legal advice.
Yeah, I was talking about what the HOA does.
Well, plus it's
If this
involving
happens,
personal
go through
use.
steps.
All we can provide is the collections policy and writing that the lawyer had signed off. I mean, that's really all we can provide. Other than, unless they call us and then try to negotiate, then we can start talking.
It says about, is there anything in the documents,
Aren't we sending the collection policy down with this letter?
It's gonna be going out with the green hour. It's gonna go out in January, so.
Well, if we decide to do this with Leland, we're gonna have to change that collection policy.
To me,
Because it won't go
number
to
one,
the
it's
attorney.
an instant savings.
Yes,
And number two, it stays in our hands longer before we pull the trigger on getting a lawyer.
yeah.
And there might be a way that we can,
Plus, the fees are not gonna be up there.
until it gets to the lawyer. And that's what I'm trying to stop. I want to stop it and collect as many assessments as we can.
I say pull the plug on the attorney.
Well, and we were,
For that.
I was thinking about that as well. I'm almost thinking on some of these things that are, when you look at these are uncollectibles. There is no way
No
that
way.
these first, well, maybe, the first at least up to the $6,000 range, I think are ever going to be collected.
No, they
I've
won't.
never had a big call, negotiated settlement and anything. And you have one year for 23,000. it's not gonna be dealt with. Why are we continuing to pay lawyer fees on $23,000
Exactly, that's
unless
what I keep
we
saying.
plan on taking that house and then doing that whole rental thing with a third-party
You're
company?
not making money off it anyways.
No.
Jay, what is, on that $22 example, what is actually owed to the HOA?
I don't know, it's not broken down.
This has been for probably 5 years.
But I will tell you,
assessment.
I will tell you, it's nowhere near
Right,
but you can't-
23,000. It's probably more like $4,000.
It
And the
can-
rest
Well, and then you have to include the ones you've lost. I mean, all the ones that you've had final judgments on this month, or this year, you've lost $50,000 on because you guys filed a petition after they filed for bankruptcy, which means that you immediately lose the case. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you also lost $50,000 right off that immediately.
I gotta say something, I have a friend, who was in trouble with the HOA because of non-payment. Okay, his attorney fees added up to so freaking much. There is no way, he paid and he paid and he paid. And he couldn't believe that he paid that much money and he still was nowhere near paying his dues. Now, that's horrible.
All we want is the due, so I don't see
Well,
why
we
we
don't.
do this.
At this
with
point,
the
we don't
attorney.
for the ones that are already there. I can see
Right.
going forward, but what do we have to make two decisions. How are we going to deal with it going forward, and what are we doing with these people that, we're just paying more and more legal fees on every
Maybe
single
you need to
month?
start going through the legal fees, seeing if you can contest any of the things that the attorneys are billing you for. It sounds like there's stuff there that probably
I
you
don't
shouldn't be
know.
billing
The
for.
majority of these are not even that claim, the smaller ones are, most of these are options,
Yeah.
the big ones.
Well, most of the big ones, we took possession.
But if we're being billed hourly,
If
or
we're-
we're being billed flat fees instead of actual time, we're getting paid over the head.
And what are they doing to settle this? I mean, are the attorneys actually doing anything?
Probably not.
But just send